Today is Sunday, May 4th. My pronouns are she, her, and this is the first clip of my May vlog. I actually just posted my April vlog like a couple hours ago. But I have a finish. I've been calling it Beach Heart. I can't remember if it has a different name than that, but it says the beach is in my heart. I started this on April 15th when I went to the beach, and this is the stitch I was going to take to the Acorns and Threads beach retreat, but I did not get to go to that because turns out it was on the same weekend as a little thing known as Stitch North. So I wanted to start it at the beach in honor of my Acorns and Threads friends that were going to be at the beach. And yeah, I did it with the called for colors, which is just 3 colors. This is some sort of sandy colored fabric from my stash. It didn't have a tag, so I'm not sure what this one was. I don't think it was a picture of this plus, but I don't know. And yeah, basically, so I worked on it at the beach, and then I worked on it when I got home, and then I did take it to Stitch North with me, but I did not stitch on it any of those days. And when I came home, I picked it back up because I was really close. Like before I went to Stitch North, I had the beach is in my H. And so when I came home, all I had left to do was EART, 3 hearts, swoopy thing with a heart in the middle. I really love this piece. I'm gonna have this turned into a quilted wall hanging, and I found a piece of fabric that is Haystack Rock, which is not like my Haystack Rock is located in Cannon Beach, which is actually where the beach retreat was. And it's my second favorite beach. My favorite beach is Seaside, which is just like 8 miles north of Cannon Beach. But I think that's a cool fabric to have it put on the back. And then I don't know yet what I want. If you watched my last vlog, I showed that Notions pouch that I got at Stitch North that had puffins and lighthouses and other birds and like sand dollars and starfish and everything. I love that fabric so much that I might reach out to that vendor to be like, hey, do you have more of that fabric that you could just send me, the fabric? I've scoured the internet and can't find it. But yeah, I have a finish. And yeah, I really love it. I'm really gonna love the quilted wall hanging. I think there's like fabric that's sort of like oceany that I would like to be the border, like a 1-inch border around the whole thing with this like ocean fabric. And then I did find a very cute like seagull pattern where I could have like maybe a 2-inch border of seagull pattern. And then like I said, I think the Haystack Rock thing would be cool on the back. But if not, I think maybe just some kind of nautical, if I can't get a hold of that fabric that I love so much, then just something with like seashells and starfish and stuff for the back. But yeah, this needle minder, I really love this. My husband got it for me as a Christmas gift. It was on my wish list, but it's one where the needle really doesn't stick to the front very well. I am now like super wary of, well, it does there, okay, but like it tries to get to the back easily. See, like that, it just like flicked out of my hand. But since I don't love it for like working with it, I may just like attach it right to the project when I get it back as a finish. We'll see. But yeah, so now let me show you what I'm gonna do next. Yeah, I love this so much. It makes me very happy. that it's done. So I've prepped my Q-snap. Again, I don't know what this fabric is. I am pretty sure this is a Picture This Plus. I just don't have a tag on it. And this is a Pirate and Robin in the colorway Mint. And what I'm gonna do with it, I'm gonna move the camera, sorry, is this pattern by Hemlock and Rye Stitchery, which is Julie of Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World on Flosstube. And it says, I can do all things through spite, with which strengthens me, Salty 24/7. And as of right now, I am debating on leaving off the salt shakers and then shortening that border. We will see. I'm gonna start with the border and then decide if I will start the words or not. We'll see. I think it would be, I would just like to tighten it up to be more of a rectangle than a square. And I think that the salt shakers, what's the right word that I'm looking for? Like, I feel like if you look at it without the salt shakers, it has like a more like serious tone to it. And then you kind of gotta like think about it for a second before you get it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna do that on this. Yeah, and I think I might have showed this back in March. I don't know. Yeah, it was in March. I told y'all that I had a fight with someone. And you know what? I'm just gonna talk about it because it's my channel and she's never gonna see this. And yeah, because like shit's still going on, y'all. Like it was, so this fight that I had, it was why I stitched the Pray For Me I'm Bitter. And I pulled this out at the same time, thinking maybe I would start this after that, but then I didn't. And then y'all, so basically, like, I won't go into everything, but the fight was with my aunt. Like, basically, I'll try to just make it abbreviated. The fight was with my aunt. She is moving across the country. And she, like, just for some context, like, she's my only family that I have left. I never had a big family, and basically everybody's gone. My grandma passed away in 2013. My mother passed away in 2016, and we were not close. And like that's been it. My mom had one sister, so this is the aunt that I'm referring to. You know, like basically my whole life I had my grandma because my grandparents were divorced, and he had been estranged from our family since I was like 10. So I had my grandma, I had my mom, which again was not a good relationship. I had my aunt, but like my aunt and I's relationship has always sort of been at a distance. And in fairness, a lot of that was due to my mother, because my mother was batshit crazy. Sorry if that offends anybody. Like technically she was probably borderline personality disorder, but she was just very mean, jealous, unstable, unhinged. And like truthfully, like to have a relationship with my grandmother and my aunt, like sometimes we literally had to do things in secret. Like we could not tell my mother, you know, that I had a date with my aunt or whatever. So I have had this very small family. My aunt has 2 children, so I have 2 cousins, but I haven't even seen either one of them in probably like 10 years. So my aunt is it. Like, that's it. She's moving across the country, and she told me this it was like the very last couple days of December, and last month, so like they put their house up on the market, and I was like, hey, and I only even brought this up because I didn't think that she knew that I wanted this, okay? Like, because I never said, hey, like, I would like to inherit that from you. Because I'm not a person who, like, I don't like express my needs, right? I don't express my wants, desires, and needs because that was never a safe thing for me to do. And so I have never told her, hey, grandma's china, like, I would really like to inherit that from you. I've never said that. So when she was moving, like, when people move, they, especially across the entire country, they tend to like evaluate what, is worth keeping, right? And what is worth packing and taking across the country. And seeing as how, it's been 12 years and I don't know how much she uses the china or anything because I don't go to her house. We see each other a few times a year, but like, and I entertain for Christmas. Like, I have them over for Christmas, but like, I don't go to her house. I don't know if she uses it. I don't even know if she has it like displayed or anything. But like, when I asked her the question of like, is this something that you're still like invested in keeping? I wouldn't have cared if she uses it every day or if she still like has it all boxed up in the garage. Like, if you're emotionally invested in keeping it, then that's fine too. But like, I needed to ask because like, once it goes across the country, I don't really know how feasible it is going to be for it to come back here because like, what's the plan, right? Like I said, I don't even think she knows I want it. Her kids aren't gonna have the resources to go deal with their parents' estate across the country. So like, who's gonna, I'm just like, there's just all these questions, right? And I'm just worried that like it's gonna go to Goodwill or a dump or something, right? And so I'm just like, hey, if that is something that you're not that heavily invested in keeping, like, could I have it before you move? And she like freaked out on me and was basically accused me of wanting the china more than I love her, or like that I value the china more than I value her. And she really, really lashed out at me in a way that was like similar to how my mother would have lashed out at me and treated me. And it was all like extremely hurtful. And like, I felt like she was very punitive to me. Because her and I were supposed to go to the beach together. That trip that I took was supposed to be our beach trip. And she was like, shipping anything is feasible, but what's not feasible is going to the beach because I'm too busy. So it was just really like shockingly hurtful. I've never had an interaction like that with her. And so like, we smoothed it over mainly because I put out like a very like clear, concise apology. And so she was like, oh, I'm sorry too. Of course, she didn't say what she was sorry for, like what behavior she engaged in that was inappropriate. But, so, and I was like really messed up about it for several weeks. And right as I thought, so I did see her. I saw her a couple of weeks ago. We went to like a craft show thing together. And I thought, okay, either, because like I just needed to rip the Band-Aid off and kind of know how things were going to be between us, right? And I thought, okay, either she's like really, truly doesn't register for her, was just a blip, like she's okay, never happened. Or she's like a really, really, really good actress. And, but like, I'm okay with like just the status quo being maintained. It was just like this horrible like reminder that her and I don't really have like the deepest of relationships. So like, okay, got it. Reminder received. Emotional like investments and boundaries have been very quickly adjusted. I acknowledge that she is not like a safe person for me to like be vulnerable with, be, like assert that I have a need, or, she's not a safe person. So then I thought that the whole thing was kind of behind us, but also like weird things. Like she actually never told me that she put the house on the market. I found out through my husband because she like takes him to appointments sometimes, and she told him and then he told me, and I just thought that was weird that like she didn't tell me that the house was going on the market. And so then what inspired me to decide to start this was she messaged me on the 1st saying that like they're leaving for their move on May 14th. And I was like, wow, that's so soon. And then I got no follow-up about like, when can we get together, right? Presumably you're not gonna move across the country and not see me to say goodbye, but like, I don't even know anymore. So the next day, my husband told me that, again, like I said, she takes him to appointments sometimes because he has these eye appointments where he can't drive after the eye appointment because he gets injections. So, and it's like every couple months. So she picked him up from this appointment and asked him what he thought I meant when I said something to her 4 months ago, when she told me that she was moving 4 months ago. And I don't even remember what she said that made me say this. And I didn't even remember saying this until he said it. But like, I did make some kind of comment about the only reason that it's okay for them to move to a place like South Carolina is because they have a lot of white upper middle class privilege. Like, that's to me a very clear-cut statement. Anybody who is white has white privilege. Anybody who is middle class has middle class privilege. But she asked him what he thought I meant by saying that she has white privilege. And I just thought, like, wow, like that was really, really inappropriate. Really inappropriate. Because like, would it be okay for me to like be alone with her husband and ask, hey, what do you think she meant when she said this? Like, I don't think that's appropriate at all. Like, you're trying to get somebody's spouse in the middle of you guys, like of us, like that's not okay. So like, I think she's just being punitive. Like, she's, now that like this one thing happened that as far as I'm concerned was like a big misunderstanding, she's questioning all of my like motives and intentions, and she's just, and then like I said, to not like follow up about getting together before you go. So I messaged her even after I learned all this. I messaged her and I was like, we would like to take you guys out to dinner before you go, when are you free? And so we made a date, but I realized that I was like, I was the bigger person, but like, I feel like I was the bigger person out of spite. Like, you are not gonna get to be the bigger person, and you are not gonna get to ignore me before you go, you know? Like, it just, I don't know. I have no words for any of this. It's been really, it's just been really awful, truthfully. Because not only was it like a reminder of how like superficial our relationship is, like basically our relationship is just like, if it doesn't inconvenience the other person, then, you know, we can go hang out and laugh and do all these things. But like, as soon as she gets, you know, as soon as it's like not like worth it to her, or not, you know, doesn't benefit her, or it inconveniences her, she's just like out. But on top of that, that would be one thing, and that is one thing. But the other thing has just been like how, like, just how mean she was through the whole thing. And like, I didn't that I didn't know, you know. Like I said, I did know in the back of my head that it's a very superficial relationship and it's not a deep one. And that's okay. But I just didn't realize, like, and my therapist was like, well, has she ever done this with you before? And I was like, well, I don't think we've ever had a conflict before. But like, thinking back, she treated me exactly like she treated my mother. And it just, but like when my mother was around, I didn't think of it as mean because my mother was crazy. And you can't get through to crazy. And so then you get frustrated and you start acting more like mean. I just had no idea that she would ever come at me like that. So anyway, I'm going to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this that if you don't want to hear a 15-minute story about me and my family drama, to like skip ahead to the next clip. But yeah, just honestly, it's been really hard. And so I'm seeing her in 3 days for this dinner that, again, I spitefully made her agree to, because she doesn't have the balls to say no to me, you know, and be like, no, actually I don't want to, or no, actually I'm still mad at you. She doesn't have the guts to say that to me. So I'm starting this I can do all things through spite, which strengthens me. And yeah, that's my plan. And then she leaves on the 14th, and she's like, oh, we're going to come back once a year, and you'll come visit us. And I'm like thinking, I will? Really? Okay. Like, she didn't send me like the information about her new house. When they like put the offer in on it, like, she didn't want to show me like, oh, this is the house we're hoping to get. Yeah, none of that. Yeah. So after she goes, or after I see her in a few days, you know, it'll be, I think, easier, because I will not have to deal with her as much as I deal with her now, which thankfully, in fairness, is not even that much, honestly. But that's the story. Felt good to word vomit. But yeah, so gonna start this. That's the that's the really short version of the really long story. And I will check in with another clip later. Bye. Hey everyone. Today is Monday, May 12th, and I have a finish. I started and finished the I can do all things through spite, which strengthens me piece. And yeah, it's all done. I am very glad that I decided to omit the salt shakers, just because I just like this shape a lot better. I did like Google to see if I could find like a small salt shaker to put in this corner and the other corner over there. But I couldn't really find anything that I liked. Excuse me. So for now, we're just going to call this done. It took me way longer than I would have liked to stitch this, but Lord, y'all, this border was boring. You know, I don't mind text, but when all I have is text and border, that was a little rough. So yeah, but it's done. I really like it. I need to post it to Instagram. And now I'm going to go back to the Primrose Cottage Spring Quaker because I would like to finish this before spring is over. I only have about 11, markup says 1,141 stitches left, so hopefully I can knock it out in one go. I could have had this knocked out last time, like the first time that I worked on it, except for the fact that I restarted it. Meant I had too many stitches on one project, even though I didn't get, you know, visually as far as I should have for how many stitches I did. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna finish this one, but I don't think I'm gonna start summer this year. I don't know, this feels a little like obligation stitching to me, which I don't want to do any obligation stitching. Yeah, so but yeah, I'm gonna pick this back up. I'm gonna start by finishing this flower, and when I get to the other side of the flower, there is a motif like right here, and then that will lead up to this big motif that was next to the bird. So I'm gonna finish the flower, do this small one, and then work on this. And then once I do this, it allows me to go directly over all the way to the other side. And this is kind of where I'm gonna start stitching stuff I'd already stitched. So I would like to finish this butterfly off down here, but there's nowhere for me to go from the butterfly. So what I think I'd like to do is, you know, have like a strand, like finish a motif and have enough of a strand left to do just those little few stitches that are in this corner here. So yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, not much else going on. Yeah, I don't think there's anything noteworthy going on IRL right now. So I will check in when I decide to put this down or I have finished it, whichever comes first. See you in the next one. Hey everyone, today is Saturday, May 17th. Tomorrow's actually my wedding anniversary. We've been married for 13 years, together for 17. And I have a finish. So I picked back up the Primrose Cottage Spring Quaker, and I finished it. I still had, I think I was about 55% done. Yes, which means I still had about, it was like 1,100 something stitches left to do. I know you just saw in the last clip, but I'll just kind of walk you through what I did. So first I finished this flower, I did that doodad, and then that's when I had to start like stitching stuff I'd already stitched before. So I stitched this whole thing, the heart, the bird, the branch, down to this tiny motif. I started on this motif, but I ran out before I could finish. So I started the birdhouses and came down to this heart, this motif, and then I finished this. Well, I ran out of floss before I finished the motif. So then I finished the butterfly, which just had like a few stitches over here. And then I finished this, and then I started this motif, and then I added the ear. So yeah, that's done. Very excited to have this done. Again, this is a 28 count Joblin from my stash that was a mystery. I bought it in somebody's D-stash a few years ago, and I used a Roxy Floss Co. Older discontinued floss called Amethyst. It's showing up like so dark when I hold it really close, but yeah, and I stitched this over one, and I definitely am going to do the full like seasonal series, so I still have summer, fall, and winter to do. I'm not going to start them this year though. I think that over one stitching is a little taxing. Granted, I was working with long strands, but I could only really get in a strand a day, which, I mean, again, they were long strands. I was getting 175 stitches to the strand, but then I would have to put it down. So I think my plan going forward will be to every year tackle one of these. And so one of the things that I wanted to, so let me just give you a fair warning if you stitch this. I don't know if the paper chart has this error as well, but the PDF certainly did. There was actually 2 errors. So in this motif here, this stitch right there next to the little heart shape thing is only 1 stitch away from the little heart thing, but all the rest are 2 away. And I had already stitched that, and then I got really far before I realized that that had happened. So I was not going to be unpicking mine. And then the other slight error is in this motif up here. I made my own modification. So in the chart, this top row is cut off because like this is the top of the chart, right? So it gets cut off there and you don't see like the completion of the heart. I decided to just complete mine. I didn't love it cutting off as a solid, almost like triangle, I guess. And so I just decided to go ahead and go 1 stitch above and complete mine. But the thing that was a charting error is you can see that like there's a space there between these 2 sides of the motif, and there's a space down here as well. Well, when I stitched it, I noticed that this was filled in, but I assumed that it was filled in on both sides, like that they just decided to make the top and bottom different from side to side. And it wasn't until after I stitched it that I realized that there was actually not one charted over here. So that means that on the chart, 3 of them don't have that stitch and only 1 of them does. But since I'd already stitched that, I just needed to make it equal over here, but I decided to not add them on the top and bottom ones. Yeah, so like I said, 2 charting errors. I will probably reach out to them. You know, this came out in 2024, so I'm sure they probably know by now, but just in case they don't, to be able to update that chart. This one was a little challenging to do over one because there's a decent little bit of backstitch here in this butterfly, the butterfly down in the corner, the bird's legs, and then the bird houses. You're supposed to split the Ada or use the off linen hole, and that was not an option for me. So I just had to make do and sort of reconfigure the backstitch a little bit. I did have a look at the other 3 charts, and out of the other 3 charts, there's actually only 1 that has backstitch, and it's a dragonfly in the summer one. And it's basically, I think it's charted exactly as this backstitch is charted, and so I'll just do the modification that I did for this butterfly. That's how I'll do the dragonfly. And then the other ones don't have any backstitch, so that's lovely. But yeah, I'm done. And I did want to show y'all some things. So I had to, because this came out in 2024, the year that's charted is 2024. And it is my diehard belief, like I will die on this hill, that if you are a designer and you chart something that has a year in it, or now, not if you're doing like a saying or a phrase, but if you like put initials on a chart, or like random letters like that are meant to be initials or whatever, and it's not meant to like spell a whole word or a whole sentence or phrase or whatever, then you should include an alphabet and a number font. So like in this particular case, it is, again, my diehard belief that if you're going to chart the year on your pattern, you should include a number font so that people can make it whatever year they need it to be. And Primrose Cottage did not do that, so I had to kind of figure out the 5 myself. But I wanted to show you something that, I think is really cool anyway. And that is an advantage of the Markup RXP app versus Pattern Keeper. You can make like tiny little modifications to your chart without, like I didn't need to pull out paper or anything to do this. Let me turn this light off so that it's not glaring on us. Oh, that's better. So in Markup, hold on, I may need to. Okay, so this is how this looked initially. Obviously all those stitches are done. If they hadn't been done, then they would all, be lit up like this, right? And say I had only stitched 202 and I still had the 4 to go, but I want to change it to a 5, right? So all I had to do was in the search, before you go into the actual markup mode, you can tell Markup like, hey, I don't want those stitches and I want other things to be stitches, and that'll make more sense here in a second. So what I did was I just started like filling in the stitches that I needed and taking out the stitches that I didn't need. So let me take out the ones I don't need first, because that'll make more sense to my brain. So then I was like this, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, like now I have it so that only where I want to stitch is highlighted, and those stitches that I don't need for the 4 are not highlighted. And yeah, you have to ignore, that symbol on the page, but like because they're not highlighted, that makes it very easy to ignore that symbol. So I just think that's cool. I personally believe that Markup is a far superior program than Pattern Keeper is. I know that there are still like some things about it that can be a little like clunky or hard to navigate, but I just think that it has so much more like capabilities than Pattern Keeper does. And so I just thought that was a fun little thing that I would share, that I was able to sort of rechart my number into the program with. And then that also, I know that you're not counting a ton for a 5, but that also allowed me to have my actual stitch count, so yeah. So I obviously am done, so I'll be putting this down. And I don't 100% know what I'm going to work on next. I think that I'm going to work on my butterflies and borders sampler. Yeah, I think I'm going to work on that. But I don't know 1,000% yet. I was looking through my whip photos, like the cover photos, before I got onto film. And I'm just not, I just don't know. we'll see. But yeah, that is all I have for you for right now. I will end this clip and I'll check in when I'm done with the next thing I work on. Bye. Hey everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 27th. I think. Pretty sure. Yes, Tuesday, May 27th. And I'm just doing a little check-in. So I did pull out my butterflies and borders stitch along piece. I don't know why I said stitch along. I did like make a sal for this, but I should have just said this is my butterflies and borders piece. So what I've added since I picked it up was first I did this like tree-like thing, and then I did this border and that border and this little, I think it's supposed to be a butterfly, but it might be like a moth or dragonfly or something. And then I did this border, and now I've started this, which is a J. And then I took a little break because I really wanted to get my small for Penwis stitched up so that I could have it fully finished in, you know, plenty well enough time. So I hit pause and I stitched this. Isn't that so cute? This is a Tiny Modernist freebie, actually. It's called Halloween Cat. At the time it was available on her website. You would have to check to see if it's still available. I'm sure it is. And yeah, this stitched up pretty quick, although longer than I would have wanted it to. And I've had this fabric for a while. I've used it for a couple Quirky Quakers. It is a 32 count linen from Mystic Fabrics. And I just think it's like the perfect purple for Halloween. And I am going to take this to Acorns on Wednesday, so tomorrow, to have it turned into a needle book with some cool, like I think I would like, you know, for like, you know, maybe an inch of fabric all the way around, and then like an additional inch of fabric for the needle book. So, you know, it should be decently sized. And yeah, so turning this in May means the finisher should pick it up in June, and it should be back, like, I feel like absolutely no later than the middle of August, so I can pick it up when I go for August Whip Wednesday. And that should be, you know, that's like a whole, August Whip Wednesday is like 2.5 weeks or so before Penwis, so plenty of time, and it may even be done a month earlier than that. So now, oh, and I stitched this with, I just grabbed silks from my stash that matched the vibes. I mean, obviously black and white was easy, green was easy. These pumpkin colors, like, I like the darker orange. I feel like the lighter orange is a little yellowy, which works for the cat eyes. And I think it's okay. But yeah. So now I still have a hanging thread off the back of that. So now I'm going to go back to this probably, I guess, till the end of the month, because I just don't. First of all, I only put like 650 stitches in, which I would like to at least break 1,000. Typically when I work on a piece, I do anywhere from, you know, 1,500 to 3,000 stitches. With this being 20 count, one strand, probably not that ambitious, but I at least want to break 1,000, you know? Excuse me. And then it'll be June, and June is Pride Month, so I will definitely be pulling out Trans Pride Tapestry. I will be pulling out my 9-band Pride sampler by the Craft Experimentalist. I will be pulling out Move Forward in Love by Modern Folk Embroidery. I think those are my only Pride pieces that I have going. I don't think I'm starting anything new for Pride, but if I decide that I would like to do something else, then I always have the option to do Quirky Quakers, because in June I only stitch on, preferably Pride designs by queer designers, but if I don't have a specific Pride design by a queer designer, then just any queer designer, and Deanna from Darling and Whimsy is a queer designer, so that's my plan for June. And I think in July, I want to do Christmas in July stitching, which I've never done, but I need to touch the Nutcracker. And again, I'm trying to touch things more than once in a year. And so I don't want to leave it until, November and December. So and then I also have that Home Alone piece. So I want to work on those two pieces for sure in July. Which that's so far away. Why are we talking about July? But yeah, so that's my check-in for now. I will check back in a few days when I put some more stitches into this. Like I said, I'm going to finish this J. There's like a huge motif that goes along here, and I think that that's going to be really daunting unless I just back and forth it. Finding a path through this thing is going to be a beast. So I legit might just back and forth it. Floss usage be damned. And then there's also a huge motif here too. I don't think I can get through both. It's gonna be one or the other. But yeah, check back in a few days. Bye. Hey y'all. Today is Thursday, May 29th. Bonus clip. I wanted to show you a couple of things. So I wanted to show you, I bought this backpack, and I was really feeling normally what I do to travel with my stitching is I have a roll. It's like a little, not really a roll, but it's a bag that has a bunch of different compartments in it, and it kind of zips up to be a cylinder type shape. And I keep all of my tools that I could need when I'm at a stitchy day or whatever. And then I will grab, whatever project bag that I have, and I'll put those two things in a tote bag, plus my tablet, right? But I went to a stitchy day, this was a couple weeks ago now, where I was I only needed scissors and a needle threader because I didn't need my tablet. You'll see why in a second. And I knew I wasn't going to need any other tools because the one and only project I was bringing was already on the Q-snap and situated. And I was I don't want to get out a tote bag, pack, grab the little roll of tools and assemble everything. I was I would kind of just a bag that already has all my tools in it, because then I can just add the project and go, So I bought this backpack. It's from Vera Bradley, and it's so cute with the bees. I love it. And so I have arranged it, and I just thought I would show you kind of what I did. So in this front pocket, I put in this cute little Notions pouch that one of my table mates at Stitch North gave me. It has teapots and teacups. And in this one, I keep my scissors, my needle threader, a needle book, and a snag nabbit all in here, because that's besides needles, pretty much guarantee I obviously always need my scissors and my needle threader. So this is most used or potential to be used things. And I also, in that same pocket, I put my Acorns and Threads name tag, but I think it got jammed down. I need a better placement for my name tag, because I would like to wear it whenever I go to a stitchy event, but I don't always. If I'm being 100% truthful, I don't think I'm no longer in love with this whole like put a charm on my name tag situation. So I don't know if I'm going to continue to do that. And I think maybe I would like to stitch myself a name tag and then get myself a lanyard, because even though it's really, the idea of a magnet is really cool, many a times the magnet has come loose and then like ends up in the bra or on the floor, and your name tag just falls off. So I think I would like to get myself like a lanyard situation and stitch myself a name tag, but it's in here for now, because that way if I want to wear it, I can. Sometimes I don't always do that. So that's the first pocket. And then in this slightly bigger pocket over here. Nope, that's the front compartment. Where is the zipper? There it is. I have another couple pouches. So I got this in my last Smalls exchange. They called it a mug rug. And so like you can put like your coffee on it. I don't usually have any kind of specific drink, but I usually at least have a water bottle. So I just threw that in there. And then this bag has like, if I'm at a retreat and I need to swap projects onto a different Q-snap, I need like my felt and my little bobbin holders and my magnetic ties. And then I also threw in a ruler, one of those like retractable rulers. Oh, and I need like little felt pieces and stuff. Because I don't usually need to measure anything, but I have been at retreats where somebody was like, oh, does anybody have a measuring tape? So I thought I would put it in there, like just in case. And then this one, I'm not going to open this one. I bought this bag at Stitch North. But like in here, I put a cell phone holder case thingy and like a little tray, that you could put on the table to hold tools. I said I wasn't going to open it, and now I'm totally going to open it. And then I also have this little needle. It's also a needle bed, or a needle book, but it's kind of like a thread bed too. I use it as a thread bed. But yeah, so you can see what's in there. And then the backist pocket, the one furthest in the back, would be where I would put my tablet if I'm taking it, which you'll see in a minute. I don't really need for the project that I'm working right now for traveling. I don't need it, but this is where my tablet would go. And then the side pockets, I have an Acorns and Threads water bottle that I put in one. And then the other one, I can put my glasses, my stitchy glasses in there. And then in the main part is where I would put all my whips. And I feel like when I go to a stitch group, I only ever take one project. So like this is more than enough room. But I feel like I could get 3 projects in here. I have a little retreat mat that it's folded in half. So I have a little retreat mat that I can put at my spots. Put that in there. At the very bottom, you can see I have a black towel, because sometimes like the white tables are letting too much light come up through my holes and it's hard for me to see. So I put a black towel at the bottom because sometimes I lay that out. And then this is my current Take This to Stitch group project. And so I last showed this to you at the end of Stitch North because I worked on it at Stitch North. But I just wanted to show you how much progress I've made since I got home. I've taken this to 2 stitch groups, and I think when I came home from Stitch North, I was somewhere between this H and E. Like I definitely hadn't started in on the E. I want to say I was at like the very far side of this H. And so I went to a stitch group where I added 7 rows. And then yesterday I was at Acorns for Whip Wednesday and I added 9 rows. And I only have 16 rows left. I think it's about 600 stitches, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, like I feel like I was almost like, I'm gonna go home and just knock that out. But I was like, no, you're not, Danielle. It's too boring at home. But yeah, so I just thought I would update you on this because I have added, since you last saw it, I've added about 500 stitches. So yeah, very pleased with that. And then what's nice about having this fill-in project and taking it to stitch groups is I can literally just like leave this all assembled, except for my glasses and my tablet. But again, with it being fill-in, I don't need my tablet. I can just leave this all assembled, and all I have to do the day that I'm going to stitch group is add my glasses, and that's so nice. And then it's okay if all I want or need is scissors, you know, scissors and a threader, they're in there. But if I need more, sorry y'all, if I need more, like I'm at a retreat and I need more things, I have more things, or if somebody else. Oh, and then the only thing that's not in here that will be in here is, oh, I forgot, in the little pocket back here, because there's pockets in this one, these are my emergency backup clip to my regular glasses magnifiers, because I did forget my stitchy glasses one time when I went to a stitching event, and that was not fun. So I decided to just have this like little emergency clip onto my own glasses situation. What was I saying? Oh, the only last thing that I need to have in here, and it'll go in this big compartment at the bottom, is my little fan that I took to Stitch North. That fan was very helpful. And so I want to get like a little hard case for the fan and my little battery pack. But yeah, so I like it. I would advocate for a backpack, stitchy travel, you know, to travel with your stitching. Yeah, I like it. So then I wanted to show you, I got some patterns at Acorns today, and I normally don't really show haul, but this is an immediate plan, like July immediate. So this one isn't part of it, but I've also picked up this. Isn't it cute? It's a Franny Ritter little frog. It's cute. I thought it might make a good little small someday. But I was watching Flosstube, and I will try to remember to like put the name of the Flosstube channel on the screen. But she showed her whip of, now I am not really a series stitcher, especially like a house series stitcher, because I'm not really like a house or building stitcher. But she showed her whip of this, and she's doing, it's a seven chart series, and she's doing it all on one piece of fabric in a row. And she said the name of it, that it was called, it's by Country Cottage Needleworks, and it's called Big City Christmas. And in the back of my brain, I was a little bit like, oh, it kind of reminds me of New York, or like it had the potential of like reminding me of New York, right? And I thought it was really cute. So I looked up the patterns, and y'all, it is New York. Like big city is just code for New York. So I wanted to show you, I bought all of them. I am going to start this in July for Christmas in July. So here's the toy store, and I will be changing that to say FAO. I don't know if I can get FAO Swartz in there, but it will at least say FAO. So cute. Then, and I don't know what order I'm going to put these in, other than that I know what the middle piece is. This is the restaurant, and I will probably, I have to look up the name of the restaurant that I'm thinking of, but my friend and I had found a pizza place that we really liked, so I'll change that to have their name on it. I'm totally making this all about my trip to New York. Or, well, I've had two. This is the department store, and obviously I'm going to change it to say Macy's. Look at it says these on 5th Avenue. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And it was funny because when I went in January, I didn't actually mean to go to Macy's, but I was on my way to the Empire State Building and I just happened upon Macy's. So I did see it. This is the middle piece. Little cab with the tree. This is the hotel, and I don't know if I can fit. The hotel that I stayed at was called the Shoreham, and I don't know if I can fit that in there, but best believe I'm gonna try. I could maybe, instead of making the little hotel sign fit inside that box, I could make the whole box the sign, and then I could divide it over 2 lines, maybe. But we'll see. So that's, for me, that's the Shoreham Hotel. And then this is the theater. And instead of this sign where it says now playing, I'm going to put Moulin Rouge. And then in theater, I don't know if I could fit Hersham, but where I saw the Moulin Rouge was at the Al Hersham Theater. So maybe we'll try. We'll see. But I'm definitely at least putting Moulin Rouge instead of now playing. And the last one is the Radio City Music Hall. And even though it just says music hall, this was part of how I knew this was New York, because even though it just says music hall, this tree on top of the sign is how Radio City Music Hall decorates. They have this big light up tree in between like the 2 signs that say Radio City Music Hall. And then these are obviously little Rockettes. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, this is going to be started in July. And I have bought a piece of fabric. So, and this also ties into another thing I bought. So I was like, okay, I need fabric for this. And with doing these in a row, it ends up being 413 stitches wide. So even on 20 count, I needed to buy a fat half, because on 20 count, I think it's 17 inches. And that's just a 20 count, a fat quarter 20 count is like 18 by 21. And even though that's technically 2 inches of margin, I play pretty fast and loose with not like measuring very well. And also, hand dyed tends to shrink a little bit. And so I was like, I would feel more comfortable with actually, no. I'm thinking the other project. No, this project on 20 count, 413 stitches wide, was going to be like 20 point something inches on 20 count. So I was like, can't do it. So I needed a fat half for this. And then also, before I discovered this project, I don't know if y'all have heard, but the designer, or well, not the designer, the daughter of the designer of the primitive needle has started to digitize and release as PDFs her mom's charts. And one of the primitive needle charts was like a unicorn chart for me, and it's called Salem Remembered. And she just put it out like last week. And so I bought it, and I'm gonna start it in October. So here you can see the cover, and you can see it's a very long piece. And this is the piece that on 20 count, I would need 17 inches. And so again, I was like, so apparently I'm gonna need a fat half. So what I decided to do is I bought on 123 Stitch, I bought a piece of fiber on a web. Cafe au lait or so. It's one of the like coffee names. But I bought a whole yard. I have never bought a yard of fabric before, but I bought a whole yard, and I'm going to take it to Acorns and I'm going to have them cut it into, so I'll end up with 4 pieces of fabric, but 2 of the pieces will be for these projects. Because the yard of fabric is like 36 by 56 or 59, either 56 or 59. And so when I cut it in half, I'll have 18 by 59 or 56. And that is 18 inches is more than enough for both of these projects. As far as like for Salem Remembered, it'll be width. And for the Christmas Village, it'll be height, more than enough. And then I think I need, with margins for the Big City Christmas, I need about 34 inches. So that'll still give me like 22 or 25 inches of fabric left, like 18 by 22. And then for Salem Remembered, I think with margin, I need about 24 inches. So again, I'll have a piece that's like 18 by 30 left. So I'm going to get, 2 project specific pieces and then 2 other pieces of fabric out of this yard. So I feel like that's not bad. I think the yard was like, with shipping from 123 Stitch, I paid just a few cents under $85. So that's fabric for 2 specific projects, plus basically fat quarters, not quite, but basically fat quarters of, and I didn't do 20 count. I ended up doing 16 count because I still needed, for the Big City Christmas, I still would have needed that big of a piece, whether it was on 20 count or not. So I'm like, well, if I can't get away with the smaller piece of fabric with 20 count, then I don't see the benefit of doing it on 20 count. So I did 16 count. And I am going to, so in the next month, I need to either scan all of these to get them into markup that way, or I might, because this is going to be such a big project, I might digitize them. I don't know for sure, but I might. A lot of them do have fancy floss, but it gives a DMC alternative, so they'll be easy to chart in that regard. Because I can just use the DMC. So I might chart them. I have not charted a project in a hot minute. We'll see. But yeah, so I'm very excited about that. It's going to take me 84 years to stitch. But yeah, so I thought I would show you all that. I'm still plugging away on butterflies and borders. I won't show you that right now. I'll wait until the 31st and do a clip to show you how far I got, because that's when I'm gonna set it down. And start working on pride things. All right, I'll see you on the next clip. Bye. Hey everyone, it is currently Sunday, June 1st, although just barely. It's just a few minutes till 1 o'clock in the morning. So this is gonna be my last clip for the May vlog. Sorry y'all, it did get a little long. I am gonna put in that timestamp warning about, like, if you don't want to hear 20 minutes of me talking about family drama, then skip ahead and it'll be 20 minutes shorter. So I think the last time I talked to y'all, I had finished the J, and I said there was a big honkin' motif here. This is said motif. I did not quite finish it. Basically, like, so you see how these little squares here, there's like a flower kind of on top of it. these stitches right here are the stitches I have to do down here to finish that motif. But it was almost midnight, and that means that it would not be May anymore, and that also means it would be June. And my rule in June is I don't stitch on anything that is not from a queer designer. So this has to get put away. Although I guess I'm gonna, do I want to break my exception for when I go to stitch group because of my fill-in for Beachcomber? Maybe that'll be the exception to my rule, because that has been so successful for me that I actually think that I might be able to finish the fill-in in June, because I have 2 stitch groups that I'm going to be going to. Anyway, so I'm going to try to keep this clip short. But yeah, so I added this motif, this motif, this motif, this one here, and then like I'd say I'm definitely 90% of the way done with this motif. There's another like a very large one here, and like a small to medium one here, and then I missed a little butterfly here, and there's a butterfly here. So I will still be working on it like in this frame the next time I pull it out, which should be September. In September, I want to work on all my birthday starts, and this was a birthday start. So yeah, I have already started pride stitching, but I won't talk about that or show you that here. I'll save that for my next clip. I am hoping tonight to have a start and finish. Already started it. And so my next clip will definitely be filmed, hopefully before I go to bed, before this is even edited and uploaded. But yeah, so I think that's it for May. Thanks for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, doing all those good YouTube things. And I'll see y'all in the next vlog. Bye!